Hey, my name is Mark Sparks, and welcome to the Men's Room. Today we're going to be talking about relationships and breakups. Today our guest, our specialist in masculinity development, Adrian Biccum. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm very well, sir.
Masculinity?
Masculinity, yeah.
Development.
Absolutely.
That's what you do?
That's what I develop, yeah. Masculinity is something that every man needs to develop. I use a lot of Dr. Paul's material. What's brilliant about Dr. Paul is he puts it down to a very, very simple formula. And what it is masculinity equals skills with women plus mission in life. So if any of those two things are faltering, you will feel your masculinity deflate big time. So that's why I think the men's community is really important for the skills in women, but it kind of falls short of the mission in life, which is just as important as skills with women.
So what brings you to, I guess, figuring out that you need to do this, figuring out that men need this?
Women. Absolutely, yeah. The root of all evil, yes.
I didn't say evil at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went through a traumatic experience in my life. I was married for 8 years, and I got divorced, and I had to find ways to inflate my masculinity, because after that breakup, I felt as low as you could possibly go as a man. It takes a long time. I mean, this is not an overnight success. I mean, I've been working on this stuff for like 4 or 5 years now. But I tell you, women for me is not an issue. I mean, I don't even think about it. I don't need to go out and sarge and do all those things. Women, they pursue me.
And you're at a point where you're like, yeah, whatever. Find me if you find me.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, if you can find me.
Even better put. Yeah, find me if you can, because I'm doing something else.
Well, I mean, it all starts with you. I think it's really important to go out and chase women and all that kind of stuff. But at one point, you're going to realize that it's very, very empty. And the reason for that is because when it comes to relationships, there's the attraction part, which is like the first 3 months or so. Mm-hmm. After that is the friendship part, which lasts up to about another 9 months. And then after that is the commitment part. And what happens is everybody is so focused on the attraction. A lot of times guys, they find a really special girl, they really like her, but they don't know how to convert that into a friendship, because they haven't focused on the friendship part. And the friendship part is all about how you handle your own anger and anxiety.
In the community, we don't really talk about that.
No, not at all. And it's really unfortunate too, because if you really get to know a woman, it's an amazing, amazing thing. If you really give yourself an opportunity to actually be friends with a woman, share with her your fears, your goals in life, all those things. I mean, it's a very, very deep connection that you have. And the sex gets way better.
Reason number 2.
Because it does, because now you feel that much closer to that person, When I first got into Dr. Paul's material, which was freaking mind-blowing. I mean, it was just unbelievable. One of the things he talks about is the anxiety map. Now, the anxiety map is a way of actually converting anxiety into confidence.
Right.
The reason why I got there was because after reading a bunch of stuff, all the guys kept talking about, you have to be confident, you have to be confident. It's like, well, what is confidence?
Right.
How do I get that confidence? And the way Dr. Paul explains it is that anxiety is doing the right thing no matter how you feel. When you do that, all that negative energy is now converted into positive energy. So you face your fears.
Right.
And you do it anyway. It doesn't matter how scared you are. I was looking at his model. I was like, well, that looks great in theory, but I need to test this out. So I started listing all these fears that I had. Scared of women, scared of heights, scared of horror movies, scared of all these things. Fear of heights was a big one for me, which is odd because I am a tall guy, but it's like, yeah, exactly. What's the matter with you? So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to put it to the test. And I said, all right, well, where's the tallest building I can find in this area? And of course, the CN Tower came up.
Right.
Walking that glass floor. I don't know if anybody's done it before, but it's
a daunting task.
It is a very daunting task, and I that was my mission. That was my intention, was to get up there and walk that glass floor enough so I didn't feel fear anymore.
So you walked on it until
I was not fearful of it. And I tell you, it's hard.
Right.
Because your first reflex is to not do it or run away or to whatever, but you go for it. And I walked it probably about 5 or 6 times before I even felt comfortable, to the point where I went right around in the middle there, started jumping up and down on the glass floor, and even stood right on, up against the wall looking straight down. And I tell you, man, the next day I was on top of the world. I couldn't believe it. It was an amazing feeling.
And that energy was flipped, like you said, into
it was
confidence.
Absolutely. And the best thing And the best thing in the world is that that is now your experience. Nobody can take that away from you now. So you can now use that confidence for something else.
And you just keep it.
Which I did, and you just keep going.
Well, let's take this fear right to again to women and to interaction with them. And as we were speaking earlier, you were talking about this is why experience becomes such an important part.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not so much just for practice sake, but
it's for your own good. It's for your own experience, because you can read and read and read and read, and nothing's going to happen for you unless you actually go out and gain that experience. You have to. That just kind of dawned on me just one day when I would be reading books, and I would get that kind of false sense of confidence where you read something and you think, I'm going to kick it tonight, I'm going to go out, I'm going to use this, I'm going to use that. And then you get out there and it's like, where'd all that confidence go? Well, because it wasn't confidence. When you go out with a false sense of confidence, women can smell that a mile away. You can have the best pickup lines in the world, but if you're not coming from a sincere place, nothing's going to happen for you.
Wow.
Unless the girl's really, it's got very loose boundaries and, it's just, and then you're in. Yeah, exactly. But would you want to have a relationship with a girl like that anyway?
You kick game, and this is again, a lot of the community, we learn how to kick game, and you get it through your lines and you do your thing, and now you get this girl.
Right.
And now we're in this.
Like, how do you keep her, or how do you actually have a relationship with her?
And how do you develop a good relationship?
Exactly, yeah. Well, it really is all about the boundaries. Your likes, your dislikes, your beliefs, your decision-making power, all that stuff is all in your boundaries. So it's who you are. Because when you actually go out and meet people, not specifically women, but just people altogether, the first thing you're going to do is meet their boundary. That's the very first thing you're going to do. You're going to, the idea is you're playing back and forth. You're kind of going, what do you like? What do you don't like? Do we gel? Do you know what I mean?
Are we kind of lined up?
Yeah, are we kind of lined up a little? Yeah, exactly, right? Because we don't know who we are yet. So you're kind of sitting out here like this.
Right.
And then as you get to know each other, then the boundaries start to lap over.
Right.
Right. And then you become good friends. And now you're actually sharing your lives together.
Right.
Right. And the boundaries is what keeps the relationship tight. If you have two people that get together and they have a lot of holes or they have a lot of walls, you have too much negative communication going back and forth between the two.
Okay.
And if either party is unable to either fix those holes or fix those walls, then the relationship will not work.
Now, is it either party on their own side?
Exactly. Yeah, you can't fix somebody else's boundary. So you have to be able to recognize your own shortcomings, your own fears, your own needs, and you have to go out and get those things met, get the needs met, and get your fears faced on your own so that you can use that to contribute to the relationship. You can never rely on your relationship to help you change and grow. But flipping that, your relationship does help you change and grow because you end up coming up, against those things that you didn't expect or anticipate or didn't see, and now it's up to you to do something about it. For example, you're in a relationship and you realize that you have some unresolved issue from childhood. So the relationship drew that out. Okay. So now there's your gift. She's given you a gift. She said, "Hey, this is not right. Something's wrong here."
Right.
Now it's up to you. It's your responsibility to say, "You know what? You're absolutely right. I'm going to go take care of that right now." And you go take care of that. And then once you do, she'll realize that you've taken care of it, and then you can carry on with the relationship.
I know in myself and the cats that are watching, it's like sometimes you stay with somebody
just because you're scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Sure.
That turns a breakup into, it's not to say a good thing.
Well, I think it is. Breakups have such a negative connotation to it, but I don't think it's a negative thing at all. I'm going through a breakup right now myself, and we both found out early enough in the relationship that it was not set for marriage. So we both went our separate ways. And we didn't separate on a bad note. We separated on a good note. It is hard. I'm not gonna say that it's really easy to do by any means, but it was a great experience, and I'm glad I went through that. I'm glad I met her. I'm glad I went through that 2.5 years. I've learned so much as a man through those two. In fact, I actually learned more about women in that relationship than all the sergeing that I've ever done.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. And so you just found out early that the relationship didn't work out. It just means that she wasn't the one, and you go off to your next relationship or your next endeavor. I think where it gets the negative connotation is because when you break up, you end up taking each other's resources. When I say resources, I'm talking about time, money, everything, physical, mental, everything. Everything is a resource. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So in a codependent relationship, when the relationship actually breaks up, whoever holds the most power ends up feeling better about the relationship than the one with the least amount of power. So the one with the least amount of power is the one that's suffering the most, and is usually the one that has the weakest boundaries. So instead of looking at that as a negative, look at that as a gift. You now know, you feel like crap. Absolutely. Well, you know what? You got to go out there and get those things done, that whatever it is that you need to do.
Right.
And then as you do, you start to get more of your own resources without having to take from anybody else's resources, right? The idea is that, an ideal relationship, everything's equal. Everything's, you're both sharing the same resources. My last relationship was like that. It was very interdependent, whereas we both had fairly strong boundaries. We both were great friends, and we were both very attracted to each other. And then just out of the boundary aspect, we just both decided that it wasn't going to work. She wanted different things, I wanted different things, so we parted ways. And that was it. And I wish her all the best and all the happiness in the world, because I know she deserves it. She's a great woman. I mean, hell, she dated me. I mean, come on. So I wish her all the happiness, and she wishes the same for me, and so it's all good.
We've covered the meeting part, we've covered the breakup part, but I mean, I'll flat out put it out there. It's like, I met a girl, I think she's awesome. I think about her all the time, you know what I mean? And if for lack of a better term, I might be falling in love, you know what I mean? And so I kind of go, well, how do I build this?
Yeah, that's a really, really good, that's an interesting point. I find there's a lot of guys that get into that thing where they found a girl that they really like, and it's like, okay, how do I make this into a relationship? Or how do I turn this into my favorite kind of thing?
Right.
The truth is, you can't.
Thanks.
You can't make anybody do anything, right? So when you know what I'm saying? So you can't, what you can do is to share a bond with that person, because bonding is the glue of the friendship. Okay. So when you find a girl that you really like, you can't stop thinking about her, all the rest of it, be careful it's not a boundary hole, because if you find yourself all wrapped up in it and doing nothing else, there's a little bit of masochism that's going along with that, especially if it's not reciprocated. Honestly, I think the best thing to do, honestly, to build friendship is to do it very slowly. When you meet a girl that you really like, or you meet somebody you really like, the first impulse, especially as men, is to share everything. I want to give you every experience I've ever had in my entire life in 5 minutes. And
I'm like guilty?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's happened to all of us. I've done it on numerous occasions. And there's one time at bank camp, there's one time, exactly, and that's going to kill it right there, because obviously you're being very needy and all the rest of it, but it kills the mystery for her. And the thing is that, women love mystery. I mean, they want to have a puzzle to solve. And if you give them everything, the puzzle and how to solve it in one shot, there's nothing for her to do. So you want to kind of do it slowly. You want to share experiences with her. The best thing I do is, women love it when you surprise them with things that they really love. Period. They love it. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, right. I would love it too. If my friends came, I love a six-pack on a Friday night. I mean, you know what I mean? You surprise me with a six-pack, with maids. Yeah, exactly. Happy time. So if you're paying attention long enough, she'll tell you things. I like this. I like that. I love going to this place. I love doing these things. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you pick one of those things and you surprise her with it. She tells me that, she really likes sushi. So I'll call her up and I'll say, what are you doing on Friday night? She's like, well, not much. I haven't really made any plans. I say, well, tell you what. I've got an idea of something. I'll swing by around 7 o'clock, pick you up. And I'm going to take you out. Oh, where are we going? Doesn't matter. Just wear something casual, wear a nice pair of shoes, and make sure, you look really good. But where are we going? It doesn't matter. Don't worry. I'll pick you up at 7 o'clock, and we'll do it. And then you hang up the phone, you go and pick them up at 7 o'clock. You take her to the sushi restaurant that she mentioned. It's a surprise. She had no idea. You have a nice dinner. She's in a great mood. You're in a great mood. You share a lot of stories together. And you can take it from wherever you want to take it from there.
Right.
And that's taking a strong lead.
We've been told as guys, equality and women are as strong as men, and they can do their own thing. Mm-hmm. It's like you're almost scared to take the helm. Because you're like you don't want to be like, hey, let's go and I can lead myself, and you're like, okay, and then you become, So how do you kind of bridge that or approach that?
Awesome question. Up until a certain part of our lives, men always led. Period. There was no question about that whatsoever. During the 60s, when you get into the whole equality thing, and then all of a sudden they want men to be more sensitive and all the rest of it, well, it went too far on the other side. Men became too sensitive. They became too this. They became too feminine, in other words. Well, what's happening is the pendulum is coming back now to the middle, where you still carry, the core masculinity, but you have a sensitivity to you, right? So you don't want to be the dominant jerk, but you also don't want to be the sensitive wimp. So you want to be a strong man who has good morals, solid boundaries, and a guy who can take the lead and is not afraid to go after what it is that he wants to go after. Because the thing is that if you're going to let the world dictate who you're going to be, then your woman can dictate who you're going to be. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the way you interact with the world is exactly the same way you interact with your woman. They go hand in hand in hand. And so if you're going out in the world and you're letting other people decide, how much you're worth, what your pay is, what your hours are, if you're going to let the world dictate that, then she's going to turn around and dictate that. And she will keep testing you until she knows that. She wants to know that you are as strong as you appear to be. And you can only do that through actions. You can tell her till she's blue in the face. She's not going to believe you. You actually have to show her. And you do that through your actions. You do that in the interaction through the friendship phase. You do that through, the commitment phase. You have to keep a strong stance. Now, it's not to say that you won't fall down, because Humpty Dumpty does sometimes. Right. But again, if you're a masculine man, you know where your weaknesses are, you know what you need to work on, you're willing to face those things. And she's okay with that as long as she knows that that's what you're going to do. I
wanted, because you said something about women, and it kind of, because it resonates a little bit with me, is you talk about leading the relationship at the pace that you want. And you talk about, so you are doing certain things. I'm calling, a couple times a week, and I'm leaving flowers, kind of the nice things. What happens when she's not catching up to you? Where does that leave you?
Well, then you leave her flat. I mean, she's obviously not it, right? She's not the one. That's it. I mean, there has to be reciprocation. You can't go chasing. So if she's not, if I meet a girl that I really like, and I really think she's a really great woman, and I want to, spend some time with her, if she's not reciprocating, it's done. I chop it off and next. I don't even think about it.
That's wrong. Because a lot of times too, and again, this is my case, is you hear things, and it's said in words, but action don't match, and we know what that means. Yeah,
incongruency.
Right, which is what we're talking. And so that's a time where you're saying you gotta move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's not working, it's not working. I mean, okay. what the really interesting thing about exactly. Well, here's the reality of it. Women are always after men's resources, whether it be time, money, so on and so. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm not saying that women can't take care of themselves or any of that kind of jazz. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when you're in a relationship, women are after your resources.
Right.
As men, our gift to women is to give them our resources. How quickly you give those resources depends on how the relationship's going to go.
Are there any final thoughts you want to share with myself and the viewers?
Yeah, with the guys, absolutely. If you really want to be a successful person or a successful man, really learn how to develop your masculinity. When you start recognizing what your weaknesses are, you become a stronger person.
Right.
Period. I mean, that's your gift. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is your gift.
I totally can catch that.
Any kind of challenges in life, any of those things that you go for. I mean, somebody once told me, and I thought this was brilliant, walls to the goals that you're after are there for a reason.
Walls to the goals, yeah.
Okay, the challenges that you face to your goals are there for a reason. They're there to tell you how much you really want something. And if you're willing to get past that wall, you will attain your goal. Absolutely, you really wanted it. If you go left or right,
it wasn't that important.
Obviously, it wasn't that important to you.
I like that. Adrian, thanks for coming by the men's.
Mark, thank you so much, man.
You gave so much great things to think about and great things to work on. All right, guys, let's take a look at our 5 takeaway points with Adrian. Point number 1, let's learn to develop our masculinity as defined by our skills with women, coupled with our mission in life. Point number 2, reading and learning pickup material is great, but it's not enough. You gotta take what you're learning and use it. Point number 3, maintain strong boundaries for yourself and enforce them with people in your life. Relationships can help you change by helping you face your fears and your shortcomings. You need to become aware of how you handle your fears and anxieties. This is all part of developing your masculinity. Point number 4, build your relationships slowly. Don't tell her everything all at once. It kills the mystery for her. Remember, women love to be surprised with things that they really loved. Pay attention to what she's saying. She'll tell you what she really likes. Point number 5. Breakups can be a good thing and don't always have to be looked upon as a negative experience. Just make sure you're honest with each other from the get-go. And don't forget, there's no such thing as failure, only opportunities to learn. And in life, class is always in session. I'm your host, Mark Sparks. We'll see you guys next time in the men's room.